Hey everybody, in this video I wanted to give you a breakdown of how to set up your cockpit, as I call it, your little command center for painting. And this is my makeshift one that I had to create after relocating due to coronavirus. So I want to go over all the big main things that you need, because people just starting out this course, a common question I get from even people I know that paint is they get out of painting for a while and they forget what they actually need in order to keep painting. So I'm going to go over things one by one. The first thing you're going to need is an easel. Okay, there's a lot of different types of easels out. This one collapses into like a little suitcase. It's called the Julian. It's like the old school plein air easel, and that will just hold your painting. It's got two basic components. This bottom component down here, there's little screws that allow you to lower it and raise it. And then up here, there's a screw in the back here that you can loosen. And then this thing moves up and down as well. And that's just so you can hold your painting. Now, one reason why we use an easel, I know people like to use countertop or tabletops. One thing with oil painting, this is a wet oil painting right here. You can't lay your hand down on it because it's wet. Okay? So that's why we always use an easel instead of like with paper. With a lot of different types of acrylics, it'll dry quickly. But with oils, you can't put your hand down. So when you're doing brush work, the first thing that you're going to have to learn is painting with very little support for your hand. Now, you're used to writing. When you're writing, you're used to, laying your hand down flat. In painting, you have to keep your hand off of the canvas with oil painting. So that's one thing you have to adjust to quite quickly. There's another type of easel. It just doesn't have these legs down here, and it's essentially just this box, and then you can pop it up and use it on a tabletop. Those are pretty common as well. And then there's just the traditional easel. Those work totally fine as well. And the traditional easels, just the three legs, and then you can put your painting on the thing, something to hold your painting up. It's pretty simple. The next thing after that is your chair. And I've got this old green chair, and I'll tell you a story of the chairs. I originally set up here. This looks comfy, doesn't it? You got a nice Afghan. It's old duct taped up chair, my grandpa's old chair. But the thing is, this chair is too comfy. It's too comfy. When you're painting, your posture, I'll show you really quickly here. Your posture needs to be fairly good. So when you're painting, you don't want to be like this when you're painting. Would you want somebody to be like this when they were giving a tattoo? Just like, meh, 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 meh. Right? This is what the guy can maybe sit and play guitar, chill out. But painting, you need to be up on the edge of your chair, have some decent posture at least, and work like this. Okay? Again, we're not putting our hand down like this. We're not going like this. We're sitting up straight and painting like that. So make sure your chair isn't too comfy and you fall into it. You need a chair, just like a normal kitchen chair would be fine. Basically just a chair that allows you to sit at the edge and be comfortable painting in that position for quite a while. The next thing, you can see I got this big light. I was lucky that I brought my light with. This is actually just part of a lighting kit. And, when it gets darker, painters need light. We often forget about that. Painters do need light in order to work. Our eyes will go bad. We're staring at little things for quite some time. So make sure you have a light that can illuminate it. I got this big window outside too. That's bringing in a lot of natural light. And I got other windows in here. So just move near a window if you need to get better light. Bounce light off of the wall. That's always a good trick. Just bounce it off the wall instead of making it go right onto your canvas, because you can see here, I'm not making any shadows with my hand. So you got to be a little bit aware of where you put the light, because the light can create shadows on your work while you're painting, and you don't want a shadow at the edge of your brush when you're trying to, make a move of some sort. You want that shadow to, see, there's no shadow with this at all. Right? So that's another thing. The next thing you're going to need, this little guy here, if you're doing oil painting, it's called a silicoil. And all this is, it allows you to clean your brushes. And it's a simple jar, and it's got a coil in it, if you see that. It's got a coil inside of it. And when you clean your brushes, you're actually just wiping it this way across. You're not banging at it down, wiping it back and forth across those little ridges that are inside there. Then, of course, if we have that to clean it, you need a rag of some sort. Paper towel, whatever. One thing about rags, for me, since I'm using oil paints, I like to make sure that these rags, at the end of the day, I put them into a jar. Just this old jar. And I put them into this jar because these things can spontaneously combust. Right? So we put them in a jar just to be safe, to prevent fires, because, they're literally oil-soaked rags, and those things are known to spontaneously combust or to catch on fire. So be careful with your rags. The next thing you need is some sort of medium, and here's a couple different types. This one is fast drying medium that speeds up the time of the oil paint to dry. This is called Gelkid, and that also speeds up the time that it takes to dry. So what I do is I just use an old cap, like from a Coke bottle or something like that, and you just put a little bit of oil in there. You're going to use this very sparingly. So one of these big bottles is going to last you well longer than a semester of work. So have a little bottle cap and a thing for your oil. The next thing is the rag we went through, and the pallet is our last thing. You probably want some sort of thing to hold your brushes, like this. After you clean them, you want to lay them flat. That helps preserve the bristles. But then when you're finished, you can store them all in something like that. The next thing is the pallet, and you can see my pallet here is upright, right? A lot of times you see pallets that are lying flat on the ground. I like to have my palette upright so I can see the colors I'm using right next to my painting. So if I'm working here on my painting, you can see these colors are really similar to what's happening here. So if I'm introducing a new color, I can test it out here and see how the color relationships work and the color harmonies work and all that sort of stuff here first, and then I can work on the painting here later on. So another thing with your palette, you want it on the side that you paint with. So I'm right-handed, so I'm mixing on my right side. I don't want to be mixing like this over here. Just gives more strain on my body. So it's just simpler. Set up your palette on the side of your dominant hand. So you're mixing here. And then you can just take that paint and see it right there immediately. Oh, how does that orange work with what I got right here? Okay, so this gives you a basic idea of all the different things that you're going to need. There's a little drawer. You can keep colors and stuff in. I have an airbrush, so I have that down there as well. You can even see I got my little speaker there. You want to make this place as comfy as possible because, you're going to be spending a lot of time here as well. And I think another good thing is to connect your practice to something you enjoy doing. So if you like listening to podcasts, of course, listen to my podcast, the painting podcast, first of all. But if you like listening to podcasts, set up your system. Maybe you have headphones on, maybe you use some little Bluetooth speaker or whatever. set it up so you're really comfortable in your space. One more thing is I have a book here, and like sometimes I just look at like how these musculatures work and stuff like that, and I incorporate that stuff into my paintings. So I've got a book here as well, and it's just good habit to get into. Have some source material. If you have a printer, access to a printer, print out your source material and have a little place to your left where you can, have that source material handy if you need to use it. Looking down, you can see I also put plastic down so I don't destroy my mom's carpet in this old farmhouse I'm living in right now. But yeah, if you want to put down some, you can see I already got stuff on the carpet. That would have been on the carpet. So brushes drop. These things sort of, do fall off occasionally. And just be aware of that and try to stay clean. Baby wipes are often a really good thing to have too. So, you can see I have the TV right behind my workspace. So I can literally just like watch TV while I'm painting, or listen to TV, more like it a lot of the time, listen to movies and stuff like that. So create a space that's really comfortable, a space that you feel good in, and you can create work in. And it's kind of like your little cockpit, like I was saying. You can have everything handy at the ready, and it's really going to enhance your learning experience to have a good space just to work in. Again, I had all this stuff. I know that you can't just rush out and buy a easel and all this stuff as easily right now. But think about, where your pallet's going to be. Your pallet's going to be on your right side if you're right-handed. Think about where you want your painting to be. Think about your chair. Think about your setup with your computer. If you're watching movies while you paint or whatever, just consider it. I see so many students struggling and making their lives harder by not setting up their space correctly. So once I kind of move stuff around, obviously I can't do that online. I can't like lift up your palette and say you should have your palette over here. So I want you to become aware, how do I feel comfortable? What's goofy about the way I'm set it up and the way I'm painting? Make it easier for yourself. Things like having your palette upright, being able to see those colors right next to your palette. Just makes stuff easier, because painting is hard. Painting is weird and painting is hard. So you want to make it as easy as possible to work within your space. So I look forward to seeing everybody's progress, and I hope this semester is a good one for everybody and we can all learn some stuff virtually online together. Talk to you soon.